One is often captivated by the translucent skin, the ethereal gaze of the young maiden, and the pure, white, elegant fur of the ermine within this painting. All of these elements present themselves as a poem dedicated to purity and eternal youth. Yet, few would suspect that all of these profound vibrations are encapsulated upon a humble wooden panel, measuring a mere 54.8 centimeters by 40.3 centimeters. This is Lady with an Ermine, a visual harmony of the soul's movements conceived and perfected by Leonardo da Vinci between approximately 1489 and 1490. This oil masterpiece is not merely a brilliant crystallization of Western light and flesh, but also an object containing haunting layers of time waiting to be excavated. But bear in mind that in Leonardo's world of painting, light is sometimes merely a woven membrane designed to shroud conflicting internal layers, raw, hidden corners, or the silent antagonism between outward nobility and the dark, somber calculations within. For behind the layers of oil paint and that noble facade, this masterpiece by Leonardo is far darker and more fierce than we have ever known. Nonetheless, in 2014, a study utilizing X-ray image analysis technology completely fractured that illusion, which had lasted for more than 5 centuries. A landmark scientific discovery peeled back individual color molecules to reveal a truth that stunned the entire art world. The white ermine, the very soul of the painting, did not originally exist in the initial composition. Does that pure white creature truly serve only as an inanimate titular symbol? Or is it a mask, meticulously crafted by Leonardo to seal away truths that could not be spoken aloud? Behind that ethereal elegance, there appears to be a silent confrontation of history, where every band of shadow and every rhythm of the brushstroke carries within it encoded grievances, waiting for a gaze deep enough to decode them. Join us on this journey to draw back the curtain on the darkest secrets hidden within one of Leonardo da Vinci's most renowned artistic masterpieces. Before modern X-ray scans penetrated the oil layers to peel back technical mysteries, we must confront the most vivid entity in the painting. The young woman named Cecilia Gallerani. She was no soulless trophy of her era. At just 16, Cecilia possessed a razor-sharp intellect. She was fluent in ancient languages and a gifted poet who commanded the respect of the entire Milanese scholarly circle. Yet, it was this very intellectual beauty that thrust her into a brutal game of survival. Once she caught the eye of Ludovico Sforza, the man known as Il Moro, the Moor, a kingmaker with stained hands. Milan, in 1489, was not a capital of romance, but a labyrinth of stalking intrigue and treachery. Ludovico had usurped the throne by imprisoning his legitimate nephew in dark dungeons, turning the Castello Sforzesco into a valley of ghosts. Amidst cold stone corridors, where whispers could lead to the gallows and wine chalices always carried the faint scent of poison, Cecilia emerged as a strange anomaly. She was both the guiding soul for the tyrant and a pitiful pawn on the geopolitical chessboard of Italy. The grim reality began with a cold marriage contract. Ludovico was forced to marry Beatrice d'Este, a noblewoman of royal blood whose pride could incinerate anyone in her path. By the time Leonardo placed his first brushstrokes, Cecilia was carrying the Duke's child, a small life that was, in fact, a political death sentence for the alliance between the two greatest families in Italy. She became an obstacle that needed to be cleared to make way for the new order. This portrait, therefore, is not mere art. It is Leonardo's effort, as a friend and a clairvoyant observer, to immortalize Cecilia's status before the shadows of abandonment fell upon her life. It was within this suffocating atmosphere of lurking plots in Milan that Leonardo placed Cecilia in a cryptic composition. Her gaze does not meet ours. Instead, it is fixed on an undefined space, as if listening to a silent disturbance in the castle corridors. The presence of the white ermine in her arms, with its heightened state of alertness, seems to be far more than a random arrangement of portraiture. Here, Leonardo masterfully froze a dramatic moment where peak favor stood on the brink of unpredictable fractures, leaving for posterity a visual riddle about the safety and the true forces governing this young woman's fate. For half a millennium, the world has admired this masterpiece as a flawless and immutable illusion, until Pascal Cotte, a brilliant anatomist of light, emerged to shatter that stillness. In 2014, through the erudite layer amplification method, LAM, Cotte did not choose to peer through matter with brutal X-rays. Instead, he used light wavelengths like soft fingers, peeling away the membranes of time to reread the secret diary that Leonardo had sealed upon the walnut wood surface. The result was not merely scientific data, but a seismic shift in perception. This painting was originally a living entity, a soul constantly transforming amidst the political storms of the Milanese court. Through Cotte's lens, the creative process unfolds like a haunting three-act play. In the first act, Leonardo painted only a solitary Cecilia in the darkness. It was a pure portrait, where her hands intertwined within an empty void, a chilling silence reflecting the status of an unacknowledged lover, a rose without protective thorns. But then, the pulse of power began to encroach upon the studio. In the second layer of color, a silver-gray phantom appeared. It was a timid little ermine, an implicit test by Leonardo regarding the presence of the Sforza lineage, yet it seemingly remained too fragile in the face of the conspiracies lying in wait. The most shocking revelation lies in the final layer of color, where Leonardo performed a proud and fierce sublimation. The small gray creature was completely obliterated to make way for a pure white entity, muscular and full of claws, the white ermine, Ermine Bianco. This was not merely an aesthetic change, but a steel political manifesto written in oil. On the threshold of Ludovico's fateful marriage, Leonardo transformed the painting into a visual guardian spirit. The massive white ermine does not just embrace Cecilia, it is protecting the territory of love against cold alliances. Every molecule of color at this moment became an eternal oath, affirming that even if the dynasty changed, Cecilia remained the one sheltered by the tyrant of Milan at all costs. If the third layer of the white ermine is a proud manifesto of glory, then the research of Grigol Keshelava via the Paint X program leads us into an even darker and more suffocating tier. A silent struggle for survival playing out right before the viewer's eyes. By shifting the geometric coordinates that Leonardo deliberately left behind, Keshelava has reconstructed a dramatic metaphorical image. A colossal serpent tightly coiling around the white ermine's body. This is no accidental arrangement of brushstrokes. It is the embodiment of a nest of vipers, the rebellious conspiracies, curses, and assassination threats surrounding Cecilia Gallerani within the turbulent vortex of the Milanese court. Observe closely the winding curves of the ermine's body. Leonardo, the master of movement, employed the linea serpentinata technique, the S-curve, a pinnacle compositional style of the Renaissance designed to create extreme tension. The serpent here is not present through tangible outlines, but is hidden within the constricting rhythm of the muscle groups and the dramatic twisting of the animal itself. The white ermine, the incarnation of Ludovico, now takes the form of an elite serpent hunter, a warrior in a coat of pure white fur. Its right paw, with sharp claws and prominent hamstrings, is crushing the head of the serpent just as it attempts to tighten its deadly coil. This is a profound and ruthless metaphor for victory by Leonardo. Amidst a Milanese court rife with treachery, where every step taken by Cecilia could lead to the abyss, the white ermine is more than just a titular symbol. It is a guardian spirit, performing a bloody ritual of protection in the shadows. The alert, almost fierce gaze of the ermine is directed the same way as Cecilia's, serving as a steely warning. Anyone who dares to touch the Duke's rose will have to face the fangs and claws of this protector. Leonardo has skillfully transformed a quiet portrait into the scene of an unyielding confrontation between protective virtue and lurking evil, where the life of a woman is bartered for the raw brutality of a beast. The magic of this masterpiece does not stop at its shades and hues. Instead, it permeates deep into every fiber of muscle. Where Leonardo, the artist possessing the soul of a scientist, used sophisticated anatomical knowledge to write a secret cipher regarding the rhythm of life and tangible presence. When admiring Cecilia's right hand as it strokes the white creature, we do not see the frivolous fragility of a noble maiden. Instead, an unusually large hand emerges, with delicate veins appearing beneath the translucent epidermis. Leonardo fully applied the aesthetics of vitality, a Renaissance mindset that does not seek superficial idealization but celebrates liveliness through the authenticity of biological structure. The specific image here is the anatomical pulse, the intricate interplay of joints and the muscular system characterized with absolute sensitivity, showing that Leonardo observed the hand not merely as a tool for holding, but as nature's most sophisticated mechanical apparatus. This is not simply Cecilia's hand. It is a perceptive insight into an entity pulsating with vitality, where the skin appears as soft as silk, yet beneath lies the flow of blood vessels and the sturdiness of bone and joint. Leonardo performed a convergence between fine art and science, transforming the young woman's hand into a testament to masterly sfumato, where light and shadow blend to create physical depth without the need for harsh, rigid outlines. However, hidden behind that Renaissance stillness is also a silent scream regarding the secret of birth under the tragic myth of Galanthus. In Greek mythology, Galanthus was transformed into a weasel, or ermine, after helping Alcmene give birth to Hercules safely. Leonardo's placement of this creature specifically within Cecilia's arms is a compelling historical testament to the fact that she was carrying the Duke's illegitimate child, Cesare Sforza. The ermine here is the guardian spirit Galanthus, the keeper of life for the small infant against the brutal elimination plots of the Milanese court. The rawest and most sacred truth emerges in a detail that only a gaze well-versed in body structure could recognize: the abdomen of the beast. Leonardo intentionally created an unrealistic focal point by painting the ermine's belly slightly rounded and positioning it precisely over the location of Cecilia's uterus. This is a subtle pregnancy message, transforming the painting into a visual legal document. In an era where out-of-wedlock pregnancy could lead to abandonment, the rounded belly of the white ermine becomes an affirmation of the existence of a new life. It envelops and protects the fetus beneath the silk, declaring that this child carries the blood of the great white ermine and will be protected by the very genius of painting who manifested himself into every fiber of this masterpiece. Cecilia's eyes in this masterpiece are far more than mere visual organs. They are windows opening onto a shocking revolution in psychology and the mechanics of movement within Renaissance painting. Here, Leonardo masterfully fractured traditional stillness to capture the moti mentali, those movements of the soul made tangible through the rhythm of the physical body. Instead of allowing the character to look directly at the viewer with the typical immobile beauty often seen, Leonardo froze a singular moment of instantaneous reaction. Hold your breath and observe this unique, backward-glancing posture closely. The maiden's shoulders remain oriented toward the left, reflecting her original state of stillness, yet her neck is rotated at an angle of nearly 90 degrees toward the door. This is the technique of contrapposto, pushed to its most sophisticated level, where Leonardo details the perfect mechanical twisting of the cervical vertebrae and the sternocleidomastoid muscle tensing beneath her porcelain-white skin. He did not paint a pose of rest. He painted a stolen action. This potential mechanical tension transforms the static wooden panel into a dynamic scene where Cecilia's gentle startlement shatters the thousand-year silence of portrait art. But what caused her to turn her head so abruptly? The answer lies in an invisible yet authoritative third person. Deep within Cecilia's left eye, amidst the ethereal, smoke-like layers of sfumato, researchers have found a haunting catchlight, a reflection of light that is truly disturbing, the faint reflected silhouette of a man wearing a hat stepping through the door. That man is none other than Ludovico Sforza. This presence is reinforced by a subtle identifying metaphor that Leonardo embedded right in the character's hand. In English, the creature is an ermine. In Italian, it is Ermelino. This is the key to decoding the status of the man standing behind Cecilia. In 1488, Ludovico was inducted into the Order of the Ermine, and thereafter was frequently referred to by the nobility by that symbolic name, l'Ermelino. Leonardo did not just paint an animal, he was performing a powerful role substitution. The white ermine in Cecilia's arms is the fleshly incarnation of Ludovico, an identification both ironic and daring. The similarity between the tyrant and this creature lies in the predatory instinct hidden beneath the snow-white fur. Look at the animal's pricked ears and its razor-sharp gaze. It is more sensitive than a human, catching the footfalls or the breath of its master the moment he touches the threshold. Ludovico, like the ermine, possessed a harsh life motto: Malo mori quam foedari, rather death than dishonor. Leonardo seems to have woven a deep irony here. A creature symbolizing absolute purity lies in the arms of an out-of-wedlock lover, under the protection of a tyrant notorious for treacherous plots and blood-stained hands. In that fleeting second, Cecilia turns back not out of curiosity, but due to an anticipation etched deep into the instincts of one in love. Her gaze becomes an emotional epicenter. There is a burst of relief at seeing the familiar figure, but also the extreme vigilance of a woman carrying a life-or-death secret, the Duke's blood, right in the eye of the court's conspiratorial storm. Leonardo was such a genius that he transformed Ludovico into a haunting, fateful shadow, making viewers feel as though they are eavesdropping on a perilous rendezvous. She is not merely an exquisite muse. She is a breath-holding witness, where every pulse of time carries the breath of both life and death, entering the room through the shadow of that man. Beneath the flat obsidian void that we see today, there lies a haunting truth, a sealed atmosphere long since entombed within the canvas. Spectral analysis whispers of a different origin, revealing that Leonardo once breathed a deep, somber azurite blue into this space. Yet, modern photometric shadows hide a more chilling secret. The phantom of a window once stood right behind Cecilia's shoulder. The light that strikes her pale skin and the coils of her hair is not the gentle, scattered glow of a room, but a sharp, directional beam pouring from a source now buried under layers of black. It is believed that the master himself, in a final act of cold precision, reached out and extinguished that light forever during the painting's final hours. This was no mere edit. It was a spatial sacrifice born of a dark genius. In his earlier works, such as the portrait of Ginevra da Vinci, Leonardo anchored his subjects in the safety of meticulous natural landscapes. But for Cecilia, he demanded a terrifying, absolute silence. By drowning that window in shadow, he severed her connection to the living world, trapping her in a vacuum where every tilt of her head feels heavy with dramatic intent. It was a violent departure from the stiff, architectural prisons of his rivals, Botticelli and Ghirlandaio. Leonardo chose instead to hunt through the darkness to find the light, forging a path toward the extreme shadows that would one day define the chilling beauty of chiaroscuro. Yet, the most visceral beauty of this masterpiece resides in the fleshly scars the master left within that suffocating blackness. Forensic eyes have uncovered something miraculous and eerie: Leonardo's own fossilized fingerprints, pressed deep into the paint behind the young woman. This confirms a primal reality. The artist did not just use a brush, he used his own flesh. He smeared and smoothed the wet black ink with his bare fingertips, leaving the warmth of his touch trapped forever in the cold void. Each whirl of his skin is a ghostly thread stretching across 5 centuries, showing us a man literally molding the darkness to summon Cecilia's soul. This is more than the legend of sfumato. It is a moment where the artist's physical body bled into the spirit of his creation, turning a hollow background into a living testament of a genius's presence. More than 400 years after Leonardo pressed his final fingerprints into the oils in Milan, this masterpiece was once again swept into a vortex of tyranny, this time under the iron heel of Nazi Germany. Hans Frank, the man infamously dubbed the Butcher of Poland, seized the painting as his ultimate personal trophy. Formerly Hitler's private lawyer and later the Governor-General of occupied Poland, Frank transformed the region into a graveyard for millions by signing the decrees that established ghettos and extermination camps. During the dark years of World War II, Cecilia no longer belonged to grand museums or noble lineages. She was imprisoned within Frank's private office at Wawel Castle in Krakow. There, the painting stood as a silent witness to the most horrific genocidal crimes in human history, as blood-drenched decrees were ratified directly beneath her affectionate yet vigilant gaze. Cecilia's presence at Wawel was not merely a case of common art looting. It revealed a profound psychological deviance within the dictator. Nicholas Frank, the son of Hans Frank, later recounted haunting memories of how his father was obsessed with the painting to the point of madness. Frank did not view Cecilia as an artifact. He regarded her as a living entity, a goddess, who bestowed a sense of sanctity upon his own brutality. There were nights when that mass murderer sat for hours before the canvas, forcing his son to stand still and observe as he combed his own hair to mimic Cecilia's style exactly. A pathological ritual aimed at identifying himself with the noble Renaissance world, while his hands were drenched in the blood of millions. It was Leonardo's genius in portrayal, his uncanny ability to conjure a living presence rather than a static image, that inadvertently turned the work into a victim of psychological haunting. If contemporary portraits by Ghirlandaio carried the cold beauty of marble, Leonardo's Cecilia carried the warmth of the flesh and the vibration of breath. It was this intense vitality that led Frank to believe he could truly possess her soul. After the war, the painting was recovered in a damaged state with a large scratch at the bottom, acting as a physical scar reflecting the agony of the era. Transcending the dungeon of Hans Frank, Cecilia Gallerani and her white ermine are not merely an aesthetic masterpiece. They have become a symbol of art's immortality against human cruelty, a testament that true beauty always finds a way to survive the longest winters of history. Our descent into the phantoms and hidden ciphers of the lady with an ermine draws to a close. If you feel the chill of those dark, shadowed corners lurking behind the veil of Renaissance beauty, do not let the trail go cold. Ensure you subscribe to our channel and ring the bell, so you never miss the next haunting revelation in our series. We invite you to step forward and leave a comment with your own theories. What secrets do you see reflected in Cecilia's unflinching eyes? Your perspective is the final piece needed to complete this fractured portrait of truth. Until we meet again for our next deciphering, in that twilight realm where light and shadow once more bleed into one another.